This may seem like an absolutely simple truth, but if you do not actually keep the commitments that you make to yourself, there is no way that you can actually build trust with yourself. Not a grounded level of trust that I know that if you're watching this video, that you actually want in your life. For those who don't know, my name is Joanna and I am a life and wealth coach as well as a home organizer. So I understand all things energy. Today's video is actually inspired by my YouTube challenge that I challenged myself to do. And yes, we made it. This is the 30th video. And let me tell you, as a woman who has been in business for 7, going on 8 years now, this is the most consistent I have shown up for my business since I started my business, in the scene of showing up consistently online, forward facing. And that is something that I had a lot of fear around. And that's kind of where I want to open up the conversation that I want to have with you today, because I had a lot of fear around doing this challenge. But something that I know about the nervous system is that in order to actually build trust with the nervous system, after years of having it live in a safety that's not true safety and a rebalancing equilibrium so you can live more regulated, now that I know all that information, what needs to be done in order to actually build trust is to titrate that trust and to slowly build that trust over time. So even just this 1 month really was a result of me showing up at the beginning of August all in on my business, and that over 6 months I'll be able to actually see like a much bigger commitment change and like a much bigger deeper level of trust within myself because of the progressive momentum of not only like showing up in business, but that I made the commitment to show up. And by making my commitment to show up, I was able to build trust with myself naturally because I showed up. And I showed up even on the days when I really didn't want to. And yes, was this some repurposed content? Abso-freaking-frackin-lutely. And also, I wanted to keep the commitment. I wanted to hold myself accountable to doing it, even if it meant that I was doing shorts and quote unquote cutting corners. But what happened over the course of those 30 days is even a woman who didn't want to show up holding the belief and the identity of a woman who shows up. But the other thing is that over now 7 years of my body learning not to keep commitments to myself with my business, I can keep a deadline for my consulting work, no problem. No problem. But when it comes to the deadlines for my own practice and my own company, I really struggle with it. And I can tell you, I have broken so many commitments over the years. And so much of this practice of me doing the YouTube challenge that I've my own self-proclaimed YouTube challenge is to show myself and build the commitment with myself, because I had spent all those years going the other direction than where I really wanted to go. That now I needed to take the time to go actually build in the direction that I actually wanted to take myself. So if we have spent our whole entire lives learning and living in a form of safety that isn't actually true safety, and it's not actually safety, it's a level of dysregulation and a living outside and truly living in survival, because our body perceives so many things as threats as a result of our trauma. And when we are moving into more regulation in our life, I mean this, and this is beyond just becoming more regulated and getting yourself out of survival mode, but in this case it is about the trust that in our movement, in our embodiment of the action is where we can find the real transformation. And that's why I believe that mindset work can only get us so far. And I will come back and do another whole video about that, because I could go ham on that. But what I really learned in a really fascinating way. So I've been studying somatics, and I've been studying embodiment now for 4+ years. And I have obviously been very deep in this work, and I've been in my own like in my own realm, trying to understand my own experience so I can help y'all help your experience. And something that I really hadn't processed in the realms of embodiment, something that this last month has helped me realize, is that the embodiment comes through action. Mindset work, here we go. Yes, mindset work can only get us so far. And I started studying somatics 4 years ago when I felt like mindset work was only getting me so far. Don't want to get down that tangent too far, but it can only go so far because it is in the embodiment that the transformation occurs. It is in the bottom up approach that the transformation occurs. And I saw that happen this month. And it is absolutely wild to me that like this has all happened. And as I'm wrapping up this video, the thing that I really want to impart you with is the reminder and the simple truth that if you want to build trust with yourself, it starts with keeping the commitments that you have to yourself. Because if there is nothing for that trust to build upon, what is it building upon? If it doesn't have one core action to build upon, what does it have to build upon? And so we need to start building that one by one by one. And like, you know, a lot of people talk about like marbles in terms of trust. Who talks about this? I think Brene Brown talks about this. There's probably some other people who talk about this. But thinking about trust as a jar, and that we are putting all these marbles, and like we do it for other people, but we need to think that we do it for ourselves, that we're putting all of these marbles into a jar one by one by one, where we're building trust with other people. But again, we've got to remember that that's what we have to do with ourselves in our process and in our transformation, is that like we need to remember that like those actions of trust compound the same way compound interest compounds, you know, period. So it's like when we stack those virtues, I would say, when we stack those good things, when we stack what we actually value on top of each other, they will naturally compound and amplify itself in a way that even that doing the destructive pattern was also doing. You're just going in a different quote unquote direction. Yes. And so let us all remember the simple truth that in order for us to trust ourselves, we need to continuously be building on top of the trust over and over and over again by continuously showing up for ourselves and what we have committed in our hearts and in our minds and in our bodies to do with intention. Like if you chose to do something with intention, why wouldn't you choose to show up and do it? And when you don't choose to show up and do it, you're causing your body to brace towards life and keep you more in that survival mode that I know all of us do not want to be living in. Wow. Hello. Welcome to this YouTube channel. This challenge was the celebration of the reopening of this. 10 months later, after allowing trust to build 4 months and transformation to actually be embodied through action, mind you, which we will come on and share about in another episode, in another video, that this challenge was the celebration of the opening, the resurgence of this channel. And over this last month, part of the reason I couldn't not show up is that I see this going places, and I see so many of you coming along with me, and I see us all living our lives in a way that brings simplicity, enrichment, and enjoyment to our lives on a day-to-day basis, so that we can all live our best lives without escaping our reality. I'll see you next time.